Welcome to Saints Now. I am Will Scott. On today's show, we're going to be getting into some potential quarterback targets for next season. I think we can all agree that the Saints have a quarterback issue and should probably be in the market for a quarterback this offseason. Obviously, the cap space and them not having a first-round pick certainly complicates that, but still some solid options maybe on the table here for New Orleans. We're going to go over 10 names to look out for. Who do you want to be the Saints quarterback in 2023? Go down in the comment section. Let me know. Is it Lamar Jackson? Is it a college quarterback? Go down and let me know. Speaking of college QBs, Spender Rattler is the first name on our list here, coming in at number 10. Now, he entered last season as a first-round prospect. He got benched at Oklahoma, transferred to South Carolina, and kind of struggled for most of the season at South Carolina, but then all of a sudden, he looked like the Spender Rattler of old, beating two top 10 teams in his final two games. Here are the numbers. 828 yards, 72.4% completion percentage, 6 touchdowns, and just 2 interceptions. So Rattler, all of a sudden, actually has a potential draft, potential here because of how he has done in the last 2 games. Now, I think that he should return for another season at South Carolina. He has another year of eligibility. I think that would bode well for him because if he can play like he did the last 2 games, most of next season, he's going to be a first-round pick. If he declares this year maybe a 4th or 5th round guy, still a name to watch if he does declare for the draft, a guy the Saints can maybe get in a later round. Before we get into my next name here, go down and subscribe. We're trying to get to 10,000 subs by the middle of December. Let's make it happen. Go down and subscribe to the channel. That's a huge milestone here at Chat Sports. The more subs we get, the more content you get. Go down and subscribe to the channel. Get to our next name here. This is an interesting one. TB12, the GOAT, Tom Brady. I'd be pretty surprised if he's back in Tampa Bay next year, but I would also be surprised if he's done playing football. He was rumored to be linked to the Saints in 2020 before he signed with the Bucs. He was going to be maybe the Drew Brees replacement. That was the rumor. It did not happen, but still, I should say 2019. He won the Super Bowl during the 2020 season, so after the 2019 season. But Tom Brady, certainly a name to watch here. I doubt it happens, but could you imagine? How fun would that be, the potential of Tom Brady coming to the boot? Again, there was some rumored mutual interest there before Drew Brees announced he was coming back for another year. Now, if Brady comes to New Orleans, Sean Payton might be interested in returning, or vice versa. Sean Payton comes back to coach the Saints, maybe Tom Brady would be interested in playing for Sean Payton because that was the plan. Until some certain things kind of blew that up in Miami. Tom Brady and Sean Payton were going to play. We're going to join forces in Miami. It did not happen. Maybe it could happen in New Orleans. Guys, go down. Shout out your city. I want to know, where are you watching this show from? Go down in the comment section. Are you on Bourbon Street, or you on the West Coast, or I don't know. We've got Alaska viewers. Got people watching from all over the world. Go down in the comments and let me know. Here's another really big name on our list. Aaron Rodgers. Now, no surprise. Maybe it's a surprise they've struggled this much, but they haven't been as good after trading Davante Adams. The Saints have a better wide receiver core, at least when healthy. He did sign a 3-year, $150 million extension. That's worth noting. And he hasn't been great this year. I mean, 21 touchdowns, 9 picks, obviously far better than any quarterback the Saints have right now. But if Aaron Rodgers does want to leave Green Bay, Jordan Love did look pretty good the other night, then maybe the Saints would be a possible fit. I think a change of scenery would benefit Rodgers. He's kind of entering the last couple of years of his career. I think maybe it's best for both him and Green Bay that he moves on. And maybe you can say the same about Derek Carr and the Raiders. They've had somewhat of a disappointing season. They've improved the last 2 weeks, winning the last 2 games. So that's kind of moved them back in the draft order. I mean, if they had a top 5 pick, they'd probably take a quarterback. So maybe Carr will be back. But they could still decide to draft a quarterback or maybe sign a Lamar Jackson in free agency, which would make Derek Carr a potential trade target. Here's what he's done the last 4 years. I mean, he's been kind of a fringe top 10 quarterback his entire career. But again, the Raiders and Carr might be interested in a mutual parting of ways after this season because they've been pretty much a dumpster fire all year. Yeah, they've won the last 2 games, but their playoff chances are still very, very slim. A trade isn't unlikely, but what are you willing to give up for Derek Carr? I'm not willing to give up more than a 4th-round pick, I don't think. Guys, you can bet on the Saints, or bet against the Saints the way they're playing right now, all season long at BetUS. If you go to that link and use that promo code, you are going to get a 125% deposit bonus. That means if you put $100 into your account, you're going to start with $225 in your account, and the Saints are the underdogs. This weekend, must-win game against Tampa Bay. Have to win to keep your playoff hopes alive. If you're feeling good about Sunday, go take Saints moneyline or plus 3.5 at chatsports.com/bet. This is an interesting name, a guy we've talked about before, Tyler Huntley. Still one of the best backup QBs in the National Football League. Whenever he's filled in for Lamar, he's done well. And he's pretty young. I mean, you can develop him into a pretty good quarterback. Here's what he's done in his career. Obviously, extremely limited action, just 9 games played. He did look really good in the preseason. Rushing stats, here's what he's done. I think the reason he fills in pretty well for Lamar is because they're both dual-threat guys. 2 touchdowns, 317 rushing yards for Huntley. So I like him. Again, he's way better than Dalton or might even better than Jameis, but certainly an interesting name here. There's going to be a couple backup quarterbacks that maybe are trade targets this offseason. Tyler Huntley certainly one of those guys if Lamar stays in Baltimore. Let's get into some draft targets again. Will Levis. A lot of y'all might be, I don't know about this guy. I doubt he falls out of the first round. He might be a top 10 pick, which based on the year he's had, it's pretty wild. Coming into this year, I was a really big fan of Levis, but just the way that he's performed and his team has performed this year, I thought Kentucky was a dark horse team to make the college football playoff, and they finished 7-5. Went in with high expectations, but just kind of struggled. But he has a lot of experience. 38 career games played in his college career. A lot of scouts think he has the tools to make a great NFL quarterback. The turnover's a little bit of a concern for me. I'm not sure if I'm sold on Will Levis. I don't really see a world where he falls to the second round of the Saints. But I'm still not sold on him. Need to see more of him at the Combine, the Senior Bowl, the bowl game if he plays in the bowl game, which I'm sure he will. If he can finish strong here going into the draft, then he might win some people over, including myself. Gardner Minshew. I call him Winshew by accident, or I guess you could say that was on purpose. It could have been either way because the guy's a winner. I really like him. He did well in Jacksonville. Played well when filling in for Jalen Hurts last season. Of course, the Saints and Eagles have plenty of trade history. I don't know if Gardner Minshew's like a franchise quarterback, though, so he'd be a great placeholder QB. I still think you could make the playoffs with Gardner Minshew. Now, is he going to be your long-term option? Probably not, but maybe fine as the starter for a year or two. Or maybe Jameis Winston could still be the starter next season. Do you think he could be? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I don't see a world at this point unless he is back as the starter and finishes the year strong. I don't think that he's going to be back as the Saints starter next season. Maybe he'll stay on as the backup. Hendon Hooker is number 3 on our list. Might be my favorite realistic draft prospect here. He did tear his ACL against South Carolina. Expected to be back before the start of the NFL season, but he's not going to partake. He's not going to partake in the Combine. He's not going to partake in minicamp, maybe not even training camp. So we'll see what happens, but he's probably a second or third round guy. The injury certainly made his draft capital take a little bit of a hit, or draft stock, I should say. The Saints draft capital, not great because you don't have a first round pick, but this is a guy that maybe you could get in the second round. And if Hendon Hooker is on the board in the second round, I'm taking him. I know the injury's a concern, but I'm still taking him. I think he's going to be a really solid NFL starting quarterback. When you look at the numbers he put up at Tennessee, he was having a Heisman caliber year. Number 2 on our list here, Jimmy Garoppolo, having one of the best seasons of his career. I mean, last season he had 20 touchdowns, 12 picks. This season, 16 touchdowns, 4 picks. And he might not be back next season because the 49ers want to give Trey Lance a shot. There's been some buzz about him leaving San Francisco in the past as well. It was pretty shocking he didn't get traded this offseason. Good thing for San Francisco that they did not trade him because they'd be screwed with Trey Lance's season-ending injury. So I think he's going to be a free agent at the end of this year, which makes me believe that he's going to leave San Francisco. We'll see if they let him walk. I mean, if they make a playoff run, they might do everything in their power to keep him, and then maybe a guy like Trey Lance becomes available for the Saints. Lamar Jackson is number 1 on my list, though, by a mile. He's expected to be a possible target here for several teams, but I don't think he's going to hit the free agent market. I expect him to get tagged and then traded if the Ravens want to move on. But you talk about one of the most electrifying players in the NFL. It'd be awesome if the Saints could somehow get this guy. And with Lamar Jackson, they're the favorites in the South and probably one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl as well. He'd be awesome. Again, not going to be cheap. You're probably going to have to pay him $45, $46 million per year. Now, guys, go down in the comments section. Let me know, who do you want as the Saints starting quarterback next year? Is it Spender Rattler? Is it Tom Brady? Is it Rodgers, Carr, Huntley, Levis, Minshew, Hooker, Garoppolol, Jackson? Let me know down in the comments section. I think the most realistic guy is Hendon Hooker. I'm typing 8.